I'll never forget the sound of that champagne glass hitting the marble floor, the way everyone stopped talking, the red wine spreading across my white dress like blood, my mother-in-law's smile, and then my husband's voice on the phone, so calm it was terrifying. "I'm handling this. Trust me." What happened next? Let me tell you, karma doesn't always come slowly. Sometimes it arrives in a helicopter. If you stay until the end of this story, you'll see how one phone call dismantled an empire of cruelty brick by brick. This isn't about revenge. It's about respect, and about what happens when people forget that quiet doesn't mean weak. If you love stories where dignity wins, hit that subscribe button. You won't regret it. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. 3 years ago, I was just Sophie, a nurse working double shifts at City General Hospital, living in a tiny apartment with 2 roommates, sending money home to my parents whenever I could. I wasn't looking for a fairy tale. I was too tired for fairy tales. Then I met Victor at a charity gala the hospital hosted. I was there serving, actually, not as a guest. I remember he asked me about my work, and when I told him about this elderly patient who'd been teaching me to knit, his whole face lit up. We talked for 2 hours. He never once mentioned what he did for a living. Our first real date was at a diner. A diner. He showed up in jeans and ordered pancakes. I found out 3 months later that he owned a global chain of luxury hotels, 17 properties across 4 continents, the kind of places where a single night costs more than I made in a month. But Victor? He'd rather eat pancakes at Joe's Diner than caviar anywhere else. We got married quietly at City Hall with just our parents and a few close friends. I wore a simple dress I bought on sale. Victor wore the same suit he'd worn to our first fancy dinner. His mother didn't come. She said she had a prior engagement. I should have known then what I was walking into. Catherine. That's my mother-in-law's name. Old money. The kind of woman who's never worked a day in her life but somehow believes she's earned everything she has. She made it clear from day one that I wasn't good enough for her son. Too poor, too common, too ordinary. Her daughter Beatrice was just a smaller, younger version of the same cruelty. But Victor loved me. Really loved me. Not the fake, showy kind of love. The real kind. He loved that I kept working. He loved that I didn't want a mansion. He loved me for exactly who I was, and when I got pregnant 7 months ago, I thought maybe, just maybe, a grandchild would soften Catherine's heart. I was so naive. Catherine insisted on throwing the baby shower. Victor actually seemed hopeful about it. "Maybe this is her way of extending an olive branch," he said. "Maybe she wants to be part of our child's life." He was traveling for business but promised to be back the next day. "Just give her this chance," he said, "for the baby." So I said yes. I said yes even though my gut told me not to. I said yes because I wanted my child to have a grandmother. I wanted us to be a family. The shower was scheduled for a Sunday afternoon at Catherine's mansion, and when I say mansion, I mean the kind of place that has a name, Rosewood Estate, 15 bedrooms, manicured gardens, staff quarters, the whole thing. I pulled up in my modest sedan, 7 months pregnant, wearing a white maternity dress I'd found at a boutique. Simple, pretty, appropriate. I should have worn armor. The moment I walked in, I felt it. That energy. You know the one. Where you're not welcome and everyone knows it except they're all pretending otherwise. The house was decorated beautifully, I'll give Catherine that. Cream and gold balloons, elegant flower arrangements, a dessert table that looked like it belonged in a magazine. And people. So many people. Catherine's entire social circle, it seemed. My friends were there too. My family. But they'd been seated separately, almost like an afterthought. My best friend Rachel caught my eye and gave me this look that said, "What did we walk into?" I just smiled and shrugged. What else could I do? The gifts were piled high on this antique table. Designer everything. Burberry baby clothes. A custom Italian crib that probably cost more than my car. It was generous, sure, but it felt performative. Like every gift was a reminder of what I couldn't afford on my own. Then Rachel's turn came. She'd made a baby blanket, crocheted it herself over 3 months. soft yellow yarn with little white flowers along the border. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen because I knew every stitch held love. Real love. I was holding it up, tears in my eyes, when I heard Beatrice laugh. Not a polite chuckle, a full laugh. "Oh, that's adorable," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Very homemade, like something you'd find at a thrift store craft fair." The room got quiet. Rachel's face turned red. I wanted to scream at Beatrice, to defend my friend, but I felt the baby kick hard like she was telling me to stay calm. So I did. I smiled at Rachel and said, "It's perfect. Our daughter will have this forever." Catherine jumped in then, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Well, different people show love in different ways, don't they? Some of us are just used to different standards." She gestured at all the expensive gifts. The message was clear. I squeezed Rachel's hand under the table and kept smiling. What else could I do? Then came the toast. Catherine stood up with her champagne glass, and everyone got quiet. She started off nice enough, talking about the blessing of grandchildren, about family legacies. I actually started to relax. Maybe this would be okay. Then her tone shifted. "You know, Victor could have married anyone," she said, her eyes finding mine. "He had so many options, successful women, women from good families, women who understood our world." Pause. Smile. "But love is unpredictable, isn't it? Sometimes it finds us in the most unexpected places." People shifted uncomfortably. My mother looked like she wanted to leave. Catherine kept going. "I just hope the baby inherits Victor's intelligence, his drive, his pedigree." She laughed like it was a joke, but everyone knew it wasn't. "We can't all be blessed with good breeding, but perhaps the child will take after her father." My hands were shaking. Under the table, under the napkin in my lap, my hands were trembling so hard I thought everyone could see. But I didn't cry. I wouldn't give her that. "Here's to Sophie," Catherine raised her glass higher, "for catching the biggest fish in the sea." More uncomfortable laughter. However she managed it. The implication hung in the air like smoke. That I'd trapped him, that I'd gotten pregnant on purpose, that I was a gold digger who'd manipulated her precious son. I stood to excuse myself to the bathroom, to breathe, to not break down in front of 70 people. That's when Beatrice made her move. She was walking past with a glass of red wine. "Oh, Sophie, I just wanted to say—" And then she stumbled. The wine flew forward, drenching my white dress. Deep red, spreading across the fabric like I'd been wounded. "Oh my God!" Beatrice covered her mouth, but her eyes were smiling. "I'm so clumsy. I'm so sorry." She didn't sound sorry. She sounded delighted. Catherine rushed over, playing concerned. "Oh dear, what a mess. Beatrice, really." Then she turned to me. "Sophie, you can't stay in that. Let me have one of the staff bring you something to change into. I'm sure Maria's uniform would fit. You're about the same size." She actually suggested I wear the maid's uniform, at my own baby shower, in front of everyone. "You'd probably feel more comfortable in it anyway," Beatrice added quietly, just loud enough for the people nearby to hear. The room went silent. Not uncomfortable silent. Waiting silent. Everyone wanted to see what I would do. Would I cry? Would I yell? Would I finally show them I was exactly as low class as they believed? I looked down at the stain. Then at Beatrice. Then at Catherine. My baby kicked again, harder this time, and I felt this weird calm wash over me. These women wanted a reaction. Tears, drama, proof that I didn't belong. I wasn't going to give it to them. "Excuse me," I said quietly. "I need to make a call." I walked out with my head high, feeling 70 pairs of eyes on my back. Behind me, I heard Catherine laugh. Well, at least she knows when to make an exit. I found a quiet corner in Catherine's library and called Victor. My hands were still shaking as I pressed his name. He answered on the first ring. "How's the shower going?" His voice was warm, happy. He had no idea. And then I broke. All the calm I'd maintained just shattered. I told him everything. The seating arrangements, the comments about Rachel's gift, Catherine's toast, the wine, the maid's uniform. All of it came pouring out between sobs. Victor went completely silent. For a moment, I thought the call had dropped. Then I heard him breathing, slow, controlled, the kind of breathing you do when you're trying very, very hard not to explode. "Sophie," he said, and his voice was different, colder than I'd ever heard it. "I need you to listen to me. Go back in there. Stay calm. This ends today. I'm handling this. Trust me." "Victor, you're in Singapore. You can't—" "Trust me." He hung up. I sat there for a moment, confused. What could he possibly do from halfway around the world? But I trusted him, so I washed my face, straightened my stained dress, and walked back into that ballroom. Catherine and Beatrice were holding court, laughing with their friends. They barely glanced at me when I returned. I sat down next to my mother, who squeezed my hand. Rachel leaned over and whispered, "Want to just leave?" "Not yet," I said. Something told me to stay. 20 minutes later, Catherine's phone rang. She ignored it at first, but it kept ringing. Finally, annoyed, she answered, "This is Catherine. I'm hosting an event. This better be—" I watched her face change. The color drained from her cheeks. Her hand gripped the phone tighter. "What do you mean frozen? You can't freeze. I control the family trust. She listened, and her eyes went wide. "That's impossible. My husband's will specifically—" "What do you mean Victor has full control? He's never—" "I need to call you back." She hung up and immediately tried to call someone else, then someone else. Each call made her look more panicked. Beatrice noticed and went to her mother's side. "What's wrong?" Catherine didn't answer. She was staring at her phone like it had betrayed her. Then Beatrice's phone rang, then Catherine's again, and again. It was like watching dominoes fall. Each call brought new panic. I didn't understand what was happening, but I understood that something had shifted. Dramatically. Catherine finally looked at me, really looked at me. And for the first time since I'd met her, I saw fear in her eyes. That's when I heard it. The sound of helicopter blades cutting through the air, getting closer, landing on the estate's lawn. Everyone rushed to the windows, including me. A sleek black helicopter was touching down, and Victor stepped out, still wearing his business suit, looking like he'd walked out of an action movie. He'd been in Singapore 3 hours ago. He'd chartered a helicopter from the airport straight here. For me. He walked through those garden doors like he owned the place, which, I was about to learn, he literally did. He didn't look at his mother, didn't acknowledge Beatrice. He walked straight to me, kissed my forehead, and wrapped his arms around me. "I'm so sorry," he whispered. "I should have protected you from this years ago." Then he turned to face the room. Everyone was staring. Catherine looked like she might faint. "Thank you all for coming to celebrate my wife," Victor said, his voice carrying easily across the silent room. "Sophie is the kindest, most genuine person I've ever known. She works harder in one day than most people here work in a year. She's brilliant, compassionate, and I'm honored that she chose me." He paused, letting that sink in. Several people nodded. Rachel was crying happy tears. "Unfortunately," Victor continued, "some people in my family have chosen to treat her with cruelty and disrespect. For 3 years I've tried to bridge that gap. I've made excuses. I've hoped things would change. Today proved they won't." Catherine tried to interrupt. "Victor, if this is about the wine, it was an accident." He held up a hand. She stopped talking immediately. I'd never seen anyone silence Catherine before. "Mother, for the last 3 years, you've lived under the impression that you control the family trust, that the wealth my father built belongs to you, that you have power." His voice was steady, calm, devastating. "You don't. You never did. My father's will gave me full control when I turned 25. I let you believe otherwise because I thought family harmony was worth the deception. I was wrong." The room was so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat. "As of 1 hour ago, the trust that funds your lifestyle has been frozen. Your membership at the club? Revoked. I own controlling shares. Beatrice, your position at the family company? Terminated. This house? The one you've lived in for 30 years? It belongs to the family trust. I'm giving you 30 days to find other arrangements." Beatrice started crying. Catherine looked like she might collapse. "The foundation you run, Mother? That's trust-funded too. Frozen. Every credit card in your wallet? Cancelled. You have whatever's in your personal accounts, which I believe is about $40,000. That should last you a while if you budget carefully." Someone in the crowd gasped. Catherine's friends were looking away, embarrassed for her. "You had 20 years to be kind," Victor said, and his voice finally cracked with emotion. 20 years to show even a fraction of the grace and dignity that Sophie shows every single day. You chose cruelty. You chose judgment. You chose to make someone I love feel small. He took my hand. "Anyone who disrespects my wife disrespects me, and I'm done tolerating it." He looked at the guests one final time. "Thank you for the gifts. We'll donate them to the children's hospital where Sophie works. They'll go to families who actually need them." Then Victor led me out of that house, past his sobbing sister and his shell-shocked mother, past all those people who'd watched me be humiliated, and into the helicopter waiting outside. As we lifted off, I looked down. Catherine had collapsed into a chair. Beatrice was on her phone, frantically calling someone. The guests were gathering their things, leaving quickly, not wanting to be associated with the disaster they'd just witnessed. And Rachel? Rachel was smiling up at the helicopter, giving me a thumbs up. That was 3 months ago. Our daughter Lily was born 6 weeks later. She has Victor's eyes and apparently my stubbornness, according to the nurses. She's perfect. We live in a house now, not a mansion. Just a comfortable home in a quiet neighborhood with a yard for Lily to play in someday. I went back to work part-time because I love nursing, and Victor supported that decision completely. He actually reduced his travel schedule to be home more. Turns out, being present for your family matters more than acquiring your 18th hotel. Catherine and Beatrice? They're still in the city. Catherine got a job, an actual job. She works at an art gallery, selling pieces on commission. Beatrice is doing social media for a boutique. They both moved into regular apartments, nothing fancy, just normal places where normal people live. They tried to apologize, several times. Carefully worded emails about misunderstandings and starting fresh for the baby's sake. Victor responded once, briefly. He told them that if they wanted any relationship with our family, they could start by learning what kindness actually looks like. Maybe in a few years they could try again. I haven't responded at all. Some people think that makes me cruel. But here's what I learned. You don't owe forgiveness to people who aren't actually sorry. They're not sorry they hurt me. They're sorry they lost their money. The truth is, I never wanted revenge. I just wanted respect. I wanted to be treated like a human being worthy of basic dignity. And when I didn't get it, Victor made sure the consequences matched the cruelty. People ask me if I feel bad about what happened to them. Honestly, no. They're experiencing what most people experience every day, working for a living, budgeting, being accountable for their choices. That's not punishment. That's just life without a safety net they never earned. So here's what I want you to take from this story. Being quiet doesn't mean being weak. Being kind doesn't mean being a doormat. And choosing a partner who truly protects you, who stands up for you even when it costs them something, that's worth more than all the mansions in the world. What would you have done in my position? Let me know in the comments. And if you believe that dignity matters more than wealth, that kindness should always win, subscribe to this channel. I share real stories about real people where quiet strength changes everything. Remember, the best revenge isn't hurting people back. It's being genuinely happy while they face the natural consequences of their own cruelty. Sometimes karma needs a helicopter, but it always arrives. Thanks for listening to my story. I'll see you in the next one.